Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. My name is Frank Honan. This is Dominic Candelori. We're here to talk a little bit about the ISO standards 20410 2017, the International Bareboat Charter standards. This is a workshop. We hopefully won't take more than 40 minutes. We'll keep it quite short. First, I will apologise. Sorry? Thank you. Okay, thank you, Nadia. So we have the bouncer on the door, Nadia. First of all, I apologise for my voice. I've had a bit of a cold for over a week now, and my voice is a little bit shaky. So if my voice completely stops, I'll have to hand over to Dominic. But I'll do my best. I'll see how far I can get. Okay, first of all, just a little bit to get to know you guys. Who's charter operator? How many charter operators are here? Just put your hand up. Okay, that's most people. Who's a broker, agency? One guy at the back. Okay, at the back. Okay, keep quiet down there. Okay, you're very welcome, by the way. Okay, so let me, Don, if you can just click on. Okay, what we're going to go through today is some very simple things that we think you should know. So at the end of this workshop, you should know about what ISO standards are, what they mean, and how to implement them into your company, what a SOP is, Standard Operating Procedure, and what a QMS is, Quality Management System. Also, how to adopt a continual improvement culture into your business. And this is what the message we're trying to put across today, working in cooperation with MMK. So I'll give you a little bit of information about who I am first, because a lot of people say, well, okay, you're talking about ISO standards. What do you do? Where are you coming from? Originally from London, I trained as a restaurant hotel manager for many years. I ran a chain of hotels and restaurants in London for many, many years, and finally ended up working at Heathrow Airport in hospitality management for BAA, which was an interesting job. I really wanted to do it when I first started. Then unfortunately 9/11 hit and the airports changed completely. So my job changed completely. So I decided to find another career. I moved from London to Austria, Vienna, where I live now. And I've worked in the Yacht Charter business for over 10 years as a operations manager, director, consultant, skipper, and various other things. So I'm quite familiar with ISO standards. It was part of my work experience with working within the airports that I learnt about risk assessments, ISO standards, standard operating procedures, and quality management systems. They were very insistent that every company had to have in place something when things went wrong, or something that they knew how to run their business. So I found myself running a chain of restaurants and having to write standard operating procedures for every process, even to the details where if you had a fire within the airport, how to evacuate, if you had a bomb in the airport, where to go, if you had a plane crash, what to do. And I was only running a restaurant, so it was quite intense, but very knowledgeable, a very good experience. But anyway, we're here to talk about ISO standards. So ISO, do we all know what ISO is? Does anybody know what ISO stands for, or not know what ISO stands for? Okay, so we all understand what ISO is. Okay, so just to cover exactly what it is, ISO is an international standard setting organisation body composed of representatives, various nationalities, and they basically just set standards for everything. A lot of standards aren't compulsory, they're not mandatory, they're basically standards that are offered to industries to regulate their industries. So it's been around for a very long time. So now we have our standard, which is the standard ISO 20140. The most common standard you come across is this one, the ISO 9001 2015. And this is the ISO standard that international businesses use to regulate how they manage their business. And this is the one you'll come across. And what is it? It's actually just a quality management system, which basically says you should do certain things at certain times to get certain results. And that's really what all an ISO standard is. It's not much more than that, but it can be complicated. So the ISO standards that we're working with, and what we want to, the message we want to put out today, is this is the actual description of the ISO standards. So bareboat quality standards in 2017, a new international standard for bareboat charters was agreed, which sets out the minimum service levels and equipment requirement for bareboats offered for charter. Simple, that's what we do. So what is a bareboat charter? Okay, a boat with living accommodation rented without skipper or crew provided by a charter operator. That's the definition. That's exactly what these standards lay out to be. So this is the actual standards. Just to give you an example of what the standards are, you can go online to ISO and download the standards. Costs you €90. And that's what you're going to get. It's the international standards, ISO 2410, first edition, 2017, 2010, tourism-related services, bareboat charter, minimum service equipment, and then they have a French edition as well. Okay, and that's what it is, and that's what we work with. So let me just have a sip of water. So I've been trying to get rid of this cold, but it just doesn't move, unfortunately. Okay, so let's just go through the process of what a quality management process is and what an ISO is and how it's introduced into your business. So this is an ideal scenario for charter operators. We have a customer that requires a service. It requires a bareboat in our case. And at the end of our client's experience, we want to have a satisfied customer. Everything that happens between our customer searching for a boat and finding a boat, a yacht that they want to charter, and them leaving the base and leaving our company or checking out and going home, happily, the process in between that is all covered by the ISO standards. So it's a simple process. Now, the ISO standards will ask you, as a company, do you have a plan? Do you have a quality management system in place? Do you have a plan? Do you have a plan of how to run your business? Is it written down? Is it explained to every employee? Can you explain it to an outsider? If we give you an audit of your business, does it explain what you do from the very start to the very finish, from the customer's requirement to getting a satisfied customer? Can you execute your business? Do you know how to do your business? Hence the do. Do you do your business correctly? Check. What do you do to check how your business is running? Is your business running correctly? Are you offering the quality of the service and the value of the service that you're selling to your clients? So you check and act. If something goes wrong within your business, what do you do? What is your action? How do you react to your business? And this is a continual cycle within the business. It just goes around. Whether you're going around this plan, do, check, act circle every day, every week, every month, or every year, it depends on what process within the business you're looking at. But you should have this process in place. So very simply, plan, do, check, act. This is written into the ISO standards. You must have a plan of what you're doing and how to act. So the ISO standards is ultimately a two-part concept, with action being a major portion and the other one is thinking. What the ISO standards, it has a list of standards, but the more important part of the ISO standards is an attitude of continual improvement and how to improve your business and how to assess your business and how to manage your business. Without this, it's just paper. It doesn't mean anything. You have to have this inbuilt want and need to improve your business. So we build in this process of plan, do, check, PDCA, we call it. This is the model that we always hark back to when we're talking about ISO standards. And it's about, if you have, so the ISO practices are built and based on plan, do, check, PDCA model, as well as a solid, proven business practices. So if you know how to run your business, that's a good start. If you really are experienced, that's the perfect start of where you want to come from. But then you have to implement it. How do you maintain the quality? And how do you maintain the quality of your business? And how do you keep that quality within your business? So one part of the ISO standards is having a standard operating procedure. Okay, having something written down that lets you know, lets everybody in your business know what to do and how to do it. So what is a standard operating procedure? So just out of interest, who has a standard operating procedure? One hand. Okay, well done. So one hand, standard operating procedure. So let's keep it simple. Okay, this is not complicated. If you're running businesses, it can most of the time always be keeping it simple. So it's easy, relatable. It doesn't have to be a thick, heavy document that explains word for word what people have to do. But a company needs a standard operating procedure that is simple to use and to follow, and that's it. Examples of ISO SOPs are your ISO standards. Do you know what the ISO standards are? It's as simple as that. That's one of the first things. You should know what the standard of Bareboat Charter is, so you have that implemented into your SOP, your standard operating procedure. Okay, your company procedures, you should have your unique company procedures of how you want to run your business, what you do that makes you unique to other companies. Otherwise, we're all the same. Okay, maybe you need to have personnel handbooks, some detailed explanation about how your personnel should be acting, what their entitlement is to the company, how they should be dealing with clients, what their actual tasks and duties are. That you can put into a handbook. Training programs. I think most charter companies now have some sort of training program, whether it's an annual training program to say, okay, we need to change this, or we want to improve this, or we have a new boat into the fleet, or we're doing something differently. You train your personnel to do things differently, and that's part of your training program. So quality management systems, QMS, another acronym. So again, let's keep it simple. Companies need a quality management system to check if the quality it offers its clients is in place and is being followed. So examples of your quality management systems that you already have in place. You have a check-in list. You have a check-in list for your reception. Whoever's working on reception, they must check, is this client for this boat? Does he have a license? Has he paid everything? Does he have a passport? Does he have a crew list? That's your quality management system. That's your checklist. Okay. You also have a technical check on the boat. The client has to sign that technical check before he leaves. This is your quality management system. It's already in place. So you already have these things. So your technical approval list, your managers, your base managers, who are ultimately the responsible person for that business. Your base manager is responsible for the personnel, responsible for the office or the reception, responsible for the clients. How are they working? What are they working to? What's their checklist? What do they check every single day that they're working, or every single week? Because in this charter business, it's going around on a weekly check-in, check-out basis. What do they check monthly? On an annual business, you have winter service, you have winterization, you have opening season. So all of these are your manager's responsibility. Does he have something he's working to? Can he lay it down and say, okay, I've done this, I've done this, and I've done this, and this is all okay? Or there is an issue here. Remember, coming back to our plan, do, act, it's all there. It has to be written down, and it has to have something in place that he's going to work to. So we just come back a bit there, Dominic, just for a second. So one I like to introduce here is your diver's weekly inspection report and confirmation. So all charter boats should be dived on return to the base. They should have a diver inspect the keel, the hull, the rudder, the propeller, any groundings, and maybe take a photo of it to prove there is damage or to prove there's not damage. And that actually is part of your checking process, because the next client will come in and say, how do I know this boat hasn't had a grounding? How do I know this is not damaged? Particularly if they come back and they've damaged it. They say, well, the last client did it. So your diver, his inspection report, he should have some document that says, I, as an independent person, professional diver, has dived this boat and I've made a full inspection, and I can guarantee, or I can say, that this has it hasn't been damaged in any way by this client in the past week. And you do that every single week, and you keep that record. So when the client says, you say to the client, well, you've damaged the keel, you've grounded the keel, or you've had a wrap around your propeller, and you say, it wasn't me, it was the guy before me. And you say, sorry, we have a statement here from our professional diver that says this boat was inspected and it has no damage. So this is a good example of your quality management system. You're building in standard operating procedure. You have to have a diver. Quality management system. You've got a diver to sign to say every week he's inspected a full list of boats and what he's done. He's inspected the rudders, the keel, everything else, and you keep that record in case you need to use it. So a lot of things to learn here. Quality management system, standard operating procedures, ISO standards. You know, it's a lot of information for charter companies who are basically, you're just trying to offer the best quality service, maintain your boats and look after your customers. So what we want to do is to try and make it as simple as possible, to try and bring it down to a really basic level and keep it simple. We want to keep it the key. So, sorry, just come back a bit, Dominic. So, question here, how many bareboat charter operators know what ISO standards are? From what you said today, you all do. Okay, that's a good start, perfect. How many bareboat charter operators can say they meet the ISO standards? Does anybody here meet the ISO standards? Yeah, how do you know if you meet the ISO standards? Okay, so the ISO standards were published in December 2017. So they've been out for over a year, 2 years now. So which bareboat charter operators have a business plan? A plan that includes the ISO standards? Not so many. It's not necessary for your business. It's not mandatory. You don't have to have this. But if you've been offered free advice, why not take it? How many bareboat charter operators have a standard operating procedure? Well, only one in this room at the moment. How many have a quality management system in place? But you all do. You all have a quality management system in place. You just have to think, well, how do I put all that together? My quality management system is my check-in list, and it is my divers list, and it is my reception checklist that the receptionists are going for. And you bring all these things together, so you have that. So you are actually all doing what the ISO standards are. So it was very important for us to come here today. I've been speaking to Marco about these standards and trying to implement standards for charter companies and helping them to move up along the line to improve the quality of what they're doing, but not only to improve the quality of what they're doing, because I think the quality of most charter companies is very high, and you all work seriously hard to maintain that, but you're not being recognized for it. So the thing about the summit we have now, why we're all here, is because we want to learn from the best, we want to build our global network, and we want to reach to the next level. Well, the next level is, unfortunately, you should know about the ISO standards, and you should understand within your business about standard operating procedures, and you should know about quality management systems. So this is where we come in, and this is where we want to help you. So what we're offering is quite a simple system. What we cannot offer you is we cannot give you an ISO trademark, an ISO stamp. That's not possible. It doesn't exist for this particular standard. Now, after this session, there is Natalia from ISO in Switzerland is giving a presentation on what the ISO standards are and what they mean. So I suggest, after here, if you have time, please go and listen to her. I will be. And what she says, what she will tell you is you cannot have an ISO standard. You will not be able to have that badge, that little badge of ISO standards on your website or within your company. It's not possible for this particular standard. Some standards you can, because if it's mandatory that you have to have an ISO standard, if you run a nuclear power station, you have an ISO standard. If you run an airport, you have an ISO standard. You have to have this in place to guarantee the safety of people or to guarantee the mechanical process. But for bareboat charters, it doesn't work. At the moment, it is just a standard that we're offering to try and harmonise the industry. Now, there were some interesting comments today in the charter panel meeting about standards and about regulating to try and harmonise the business. And it's not clear which way this is going. It's a very good idea. It was recognised a few years ago, and that's why the ISO standards are put in. But that was to protect the customer. It was to protect the client more than anything else, so that the client, the customer paying for the product, had some level of knowing what he was actually buying into. It's not something that we agree amongst ourselves. It was only written for the client and the customer. So what we're offering is we can verify for bareboat charter companies, you know the standards, you know what they are, and you're working towards them. We can offer a solution that you work with the best practice in mind. And we can offer our advice on how you can invest in your business and help your business grow for the future, which is really what we're talking about here. That's why we're all here today. So what we're offering to charter operators, so Anchor offers charter operators the opportunity to make a self-assessment of their business and benchmark it against the ISO standards with an online survey or a self-assessment survey. So what we have done is we have rewritten the ISO standards into an understandable, simple format. So it's not just a 15-page document that looks like it came from a factory. So I'll give you an example here. Actually, if you come to the next slide, Dominic. So this is an example of the questionnaire that we will ask bareboat charters to log in and to verify they know what the ISO standards are. So this here, for example, this is question 11 on our survey, which is ISO standard 5.1.2, bareboat details. And it says, does the charter contract contain detailed information about the client, stroke skipper, on the boat's equipment, layout, number of toilets and cabins? That's a simple question. You all use MMK. It's all there. Of course, we send all this information off. It's that simple. MMK are providing that for you. Okay, a more detailed question. That's a basic question, what we're asking you. Does your charter company offer that? Actually, what the ISO standard says, do you offer the client information on the maximum number of persons permitted on board, the year of construction, the age of the craft, manufacturer and model, the layout, the number of cabins, heads, berths, inventory equipment, supply as standard, optional extras, request by charter, and its costs? Or, as we put in here very simply, you send a complete offer of all necessary information must be sent with payment details. That's what MMK does for you. That's what their system does. It's very simple. You put all of your boat data in there. It meets the requirements, the ISO requirements. You send it to the client and say, this is what we're offering. This is the boat. This is the year. These are the number of cabins. This is the price. This is what we want from you. You want a skipper's license. Please send us a skipper's license as proof beforehand so we can charter it to you. and you've met all of those requirements just by using your booking system. So another example here of one of the questions that's asked: does the Bareboat Charter contract contain information on dates and times of the handover and return location, the transport and parking options where the boat is? Now, not all boats are parked in a marina. Sometimes they can be put in some strange locations around the world. Remember, these are international standards. So this refers to ISO standard 5.13, dates of charter and duration. Also 5.1.4, location. The exact date and times of handover and return and handback must be written into your information you're giving to your client. The charter provider shall give the charterer up-to-date information about here transport and handover and handback, or in a simple terms, a complete offer with the necessary information must be sent with payment details and support the information to take over the boat. You all do that. We know you do that. So it's actually very clear. So you're already meeting the ISO standards, but how do you know? So what we're offering here is for charter companies, it's a very simple one-stop solution where charter operators can get a list of the ISO standards in a simple format with tips and hints that explain the standards and how to apply them. So if you go online, take our survey, make your self-assessment while you're doing the survey, very simple questions. Does your company do this? Does it do this? Does it do this? Yes or no? Most of the time we see 85%, 90% of the chartered companies already conform to this. They just don't know they conform because they don't have the access to the standards. So if you complete your online survey, your self-assessment, we will give you a certificate for your office to say, okay, yes, we understand what the ISO standards are and we conform to them and we're working towards them. We will also give you a verified standards logo that will go onto MMK under your fleet. This little anchor tick says, I understand, we understand what the ISO standards are and we're working towards them. It's a, again, continual improvement process. So here's an example of us yachting. They had a management issue in Split. They contacted us. We went through the ISO standards with them. They now understand. The managers understand what the ISO standards are. They understand what the process is. And they also applied for the best practice certificate, which was a manager's procedural handbook. Okay? So with the manager's procedural handbook, which is this one here. So this is the book we offer. Now in this book is basically all of the standards you need to have within your business, but it's how to run your business, okay? It doesn't apply 100% to every single business, but it'll offer some really, really simple guidelines of what to do. So it does have a full, complete check-in of how you do your reception, how you train your receptionists and what they should check and how they need to handle credit card payments, how they need to handle financial payments. Okay, this is a training section at the back, which is about how to handle insurance claims and how different types of insurance claims you have. It also has in the back of it, it has all of the ISO standards. Okay, good example here, how to clean the boat. So we all have our dedicated cleaners that come along to clean the boat every Saturday in between check-in and check-out. Are your cleaners protected? Do they know they should be wearing gloves because of the chemicals they're using? Do they know they should be wearing shoes because of the chemicals they're using? So this is the handbook that we're offering. And this is what we call the best practice. From my experience, most good base managers have started from cleaning boats and they've worked their way up, or they've come from some other industry, but they don't necessarily know what ISO standards are, or they don't necessarily know what standard operating procedures are. So this is where we want to help them. Okay, so this is not, we're trying to be clever about offering you an ISO standard. What we want to offer is information about ISO standards, how to manage them within your business, and also how to manage your business in a very, very constructive way. So this book is the first part can be the first part of your standard operating procedure and your quality management system. So it has in the back of it has some examples of interventions, how to handle an intervention, who pays for the intervention, how much it will cost. It also has examples of questionnaires you should be asking your clients when they leave. It has a lot of very useful information. And it hasn't come out of nowhere. This was written by me and in cooperation with one of the biggest charter companies in the world, because they had nothing in place. So we put this together. Now it's been adapted, it's been made a generic document, but it's there. So if you want this, these are our partners in Greece, Zelon Yachtings. Christos here, he's a one-man operator. He's got one man, a couple of guys helping, he's got one boat. And he wanted to know what the standards are. How does he meet the standards and how does he run his business? So we said, please take the book if this helps you to run your business. And he said it was fantastic. So many questions he was asking other people and getting strange information from. And we tried to lay it out and trying to be as clear as possible for him. So this is for us is a very good example. The third level that we're offering for our business is if you're serious about investing in your business, we know you're all serious. Again, that's why you're here. What we're offering is the knowledge to learn about the ISO standards, introduce the best practice into your business and to be recognized for doing it. Have the certificate, have the best practice trademark underneath your fleet on MMK to say we are working with the best practice. We want to improve our business. But if you're struggling to do that, maybe it's not always so easy, or you want to have something a bit different, we're very happy to come along. I'm very happy to come along and speak to the managers, speak to the personnel, make an audit of your business and give you feedback about how you can introduce this and what you're doing. So normally our audits will be very simple. We start from the very beginning where a client is received into reception, what they see, what they do, how they're acted, how they're managed by the receptionist, how the check-in process is worked, what the boats look like, the contracts. We check everything and then we give you a full report on all the things that you're doing good, which most of the time is a lot. But then all the things that you could improve on and maybe do better. Maybe some personal issues, which is obviously a challenge for everyone. Maybe some boats need a little bit of care and attention. And we're not talking about every boat here will automatically meet the ISO standards. Some of the older boats that we are selling are in fantastic condition and great quality and great value. We know that. It's the older boats within our fleets that are bought and paid for that are really earning us money. For us, we don't see the difference between that boat, as long as it has all the correct information on the boat for the client. So if you invite us to come along, we're very happy to give you a certificate to say, yes, you've invested in your business, you've bought into the ISO standards and verified them from the beginning, you've bought into the best practice system that we're offering, and you've invited us to come along to do an audit on your base, and you're working with us to improve your business. And that's it. So it's not really a complicated process. We're just here to help you. Okay, these are just some of the people we've worked with in the past. So they're all our partners. They've all done a pretty good job so far. And we're rolling this out. It's a new project. It's something that we're working closely with MMK on. They want to support this. They want to promote this. It was very important for us to come here today and over the next couple of days to try and put across our message that it's about continual improvement. This is about having a positive attitude towards your business and working together. We don't know where it's going to take us. There is talk about harmonizing the industry so that all charter companies have the standard, a standard in place. If that's the ISO standards, that's fine. That's not my decision. I want to just take you there. That's all, just to give you the opportunity to see it and say, okay, we can get there. If it's a star rating system, how that will work, I don't know. But let's try and get everything at the same level so that everybody understands what the clients, international clients, expect. So if you've got clients coming from America, from Australia, or from wherever, and they say, okay, this charter company, I've never heard of them before, but they've got a great boat. I want to go for a holiday. Do they meet the ISO standards? Do they understand what the international standards I want to buy into of course, you want to know that you have those standards, and they want to see that you have those standards. So that's why we're offering this. So quite a lot of information today. I don't know how we're doing with time. Okay, we're 35 minutes in. So there's a lot of information coming out very quickly today. My voice is held there. ISO standards, they're there. If you want to have access to them, you can go to the ISO website. You can download the booklet, it costs you €90. If you want to have access to the ISO standards through our system and answer the questions, do a simple self-assessment survey. And this is about giving the power back to you. We're not here to manage your business. You manage your business. We just want to give you the tools to do it. Look at the ISO standards, measure yourself against them. Are you meeting the ISO standards? Okay, if you are, fine. We're happy to give you a certificate to say and put it on the wall and say, look, we understand what the ISO standards are, and they've been verified that we know what they are. And that's all we're suggesting. If you want to work with the best practice, if your managers do need help, if your personnel needs help, at the moment we have a big problem, I think, in Croatia, where the turnover of personnel is becoming an issue because the industry is growing so fast. There are people being moved from one company to the other, and the messages are being travelled around. Use the best practice handbook. Set it as your standards. Say, this is what we work to as a minimum standard. Of course, if I was running a business, I was running your business, you want to have a unique selling point. You want to rise above these standards. If you want to have your own best practice handbook, fine, let's do that. We can put your own. Let's rise above it and have a better standard than everybody else if that's what you want to sell. Of course, that costs. But this is the minimum standard that we're offering here, just the basic standards. And if you want our help, if you want to introduce this into your company, we're here to talk. We're here in the main hall, Dominic and myself. We have some information there. Obviously, it's something that we want to promote, MMK wants to promote, and we want you to understand and be happy that this is not something mandatory, it's something voluntary, and we're here to help you. I think that's it at the moment. So yeah, if you want more information, if you want some more contact details, we've got a little leaflet here. We've got a few more minutes. Is there any questions?
We have
about
about
what I've asked
10
you?
minutes more, so feel free to ask questions.
Yeah, is there any questions about what I've gone through? So yes.
Sorry, let me get to you first. Oops.
If anybody came in late doesn't have one of these, please get one on the way out or come and see me on the way out, okay?
Thanks. Question is, does these standards include also terms and conditions? For example, rules for replacing yacht by the charter company?
Yes. Yes, it does. You need more information? Okay. Yeah, it does. Actually, the ISO standards is very detailed. The ISO standards explain what a contract should be, what should be in your contract. Of course, your contracts are what you want to say to your client and your agreement. But the ISO standards is about the spirit of the contract. Now, for example, the ISO standards says you should have a price list at every check-in with a client to say, if you do a damage on our boat, if we have to lift the boat, it will cost 1,000, 2,000 euros, and it's now in the prices. If you lose a fender, it will cost you 30 euros. If you break a window, it will cost you 110 euros. And that price list is available for the client to see. That's written into the ISO standards. So that's a kind of example, the details it gets into. So if you're saying that if you cannot deliver a boat, for a client, what does your contract say? What does your contract say?
Yeah, that we should give money back or replace the yacht with the same class.
Basically, that's it. It's a like for like. Remember, this is about consumer, what the consumer gets. If you're selling a product, you must give the consumer something equal, if not better, is what the answer is. So yes, that is listed in the ISO standards. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so like I said, a lot of information there, but it's all positive. It's all going, I think, going in the right way. it's something that's, like I said, the ISO standards, they're not complicated, they're not difficult. From my experience, most charter operators, particularly in Croatia, particularly in Greece, Turkey, you all run really good operations and you all have the best will to do things right. But you're not promoting that particularly in the right way. You're not being identified with it. So the ISO standards, if you understand what they are and you're working towards it, you know you met that benchmark. So the ISO standards, maybe in a few years, the ISO standards were actually written by a guy called Stuart Carruthers, who works for the RYA in the UK and in cooperation with a couple of other big charter companies. And that's where the standards came from. It didn't come from me. And I know Stuart very, very well, and what they're trying to do is to protect the consumer more than anything else. And fundamentally, this is what's called harmonizing the industry. And that's bringing everybody up to the same level. So we all understand what the product we're selling is, and we all understand what service we have to deliver and what our contract should say. Once everybody's at the same level, then maybe we can look at who rises above that standard and above that quality. So it's like in the hotel industry, as a good example, all hotels have a standard. You have to have a standard of hygiene, a standard of operation, a standard of process. But you have a ranking system, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star. Okay, and at the moment, this is the harmonizing of the yacht charter industry. It can only be a good thing. It can only be a good way forward. And if you're going to sign up for it, you believe in what it's all about, be recognized. As we say, get anchored. Anchor your business. Secure it down. Make sure you know what the standards are and make sure you're working towards them. And it's as simple as that. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, so we have a few more minutes before, another 5 or 6 minutes left. If any of you have any direct or specific questions about your company for either Frank or myself, once Frank takes a drink, then we do have our stand just inside the main hall. Please come and talk to us there, or come and grab us while we're around between the workshops. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.